Nice day for that. And we will see what is going on. Now, this lighthouse is pretty amazing, actually. It was first built in 1861. That's the first lighthouse. And surprisingly, it was a house with a lantern on top. Which is rather odd, but the lighthouse keeper and his family lived in there, and the first lighthouse keeper was a Mr. Condon. He lasted for quite a while, raised his family there. I won't get into the details because we don't want this to be a 20-minute video. But anyways, he ended up asking for and receiving his pension early. He said that because of the winds and the storms, the building would be knocked askew, and as a result, the lantern didn't turn properly. So he would have to sit up in the lantern area, straddling it, and manually turn it in bad weather. So you can imagine that over a period of number of years that this played havoc with his health. He got run down, and actually his wife went crazy. She really suffered a really bad mental health episode, and it took her a number of months to recover. And after that, every time there was a big storm, she would not do well. So he asked for his pension early, and he was granted that pension. When he left the job, he requested that his son be allowed to take over the position, and his son did. His son then married a woman from Livingston's Cove, and they ended up having 3 little girls. Only one little girl survived, and I think actually his wife died in childbirth. I'm not 100% sure on that. But either way, he was left alone with one little girl, and was so despondent that he sent in a letter of resignation for the position here at the lighthouse. After a few months, though, he decided that it really was a job he did want to keep. He could handle it. And by the time he wrote back saying he wished to keep the job, he was informed that the job had already been given to a Mr. McDonald from Antigonish. So unfortunately, he left his daughter with relatives in Livingston Cove, and he went off to the Klondike to seek his fortune. And I guess he did keep in touch for a little while, but then disappeared. Probably one of the unknown people that died on the way to the Klondike or at the Klondike and buried in an unmarked grave, which is really rather sad. So after the 2 Condons, there was a McDonald, and then there was a McCachran, I think, from the local area here. And it was around, I believe, that time that they looked at actually building a second lighthouse. And the second lighthouse was a freestanding lighthouse in the early 1900s. And it was built beside the house with the lamp on it. And it was quite a bit shorter, but because it was a standalone, it worked a little bit better. Because there was no house attached, that's when they then went and built a house for the lighthouse keeper and his family. And there was also, of course, barns and stuff on the property because they would have had their own animals and own gardens and stuff like that. So there was a few lighthouse keepers during that time in the house, the main one being the Falkenhams. Came up here from the Lunenburg area, and Mr. Falkenham raised his family here, and when he retired he went back down to the Lunenburg area, and his one son stayed in the area and raised his family here. And of course there's still Falkenhams in the area. After that, the Clarks came. They were a family that were the last people to have a position here in the lighthouse. And look at that. Isn't it a thing of wonder? Anyways, the Clarks were the last people here. And the reason why they were the last people to live here at the house with the barns and the lighthouse was the second lighthouse was replaced with the one that we have here now. This big cement freestanding lighthouse. Would have been in the mid-60s. And the government decided to build this lighthouse and replace many lighthouses around the Maritimes with these types because they were self-automated. You didn't need a keeper anymore. You didn't need to have somebody here all the time. It was automated. So it became automated, and the government ended up selling the lighthouse itself.
Please hang up and try again.
It was moved off the property in the 60s and is still in use here on the Cape as a private home. The barns, I'm sure, went about that same size time too. I mean, there's no use it. Up until a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I'm not sure the exact date because I'm terrible with dates. The lighthouse was turned over to the community, and a community group now maintains it and looks after it, accepts donations for it to keep up the uptake, and it's just a beautiful place to come up, enjoy the views to Cape Breton and PEI, and enjoy the lighthouse. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that little tour. If you want to know more about the lighthouse, you can always go to the Cape George Heritage Museum website at capemuseum.ca. And there are documents on there that will explain all the history and all the lighthouse keepers, and there are sad little salaries and the hardships they endured. Or you can go to the museum, and we have a beautiful display set up on the lighthouse and its keepers. Anyways, hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.